Well, next, let's queer up students and youth culture. LGBTQ plus students at Mormon BYU continue to fight for inclusivity. Stephen Kapp Perry, once silenced by the words of a former Brigham Young University president, now openly embraces his identity as a gay man while working at BYU. This changing landscape at the university was recently marked by a gathering of over 150 members of the Provo, Utah community, largely LGBTQ plus BYU students and recent graduates. They gathered to recognize both the ongoing struggles and strides made within the campus community. This annual gathering also saw the participants reflecting on their experiences. Freshman Kate Wickham, embracing the metaphor of progress, likened their journey to, quote, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, end quote, acknowledging setbacks while affirming their forward momentum. The event led to a march to a park for a drag show. Against the black backdrop of the Latter-day Saints temple, students donned rainbow attire expressed their identities boldly. However, recent announcements such as the requirement for incoming freshmen to read a controversial speech by Latter-day Saint Apostle Jeffrey Holland have created concerns among students. Holland notoriously encouraged members to protect, quote, marriage as a union of a man and a woman, end quote. His remarks were met with resistance from LGBTQ plus students who voiced concerns about revisiting past harm. However, BYU still provides prohibitions on same-sex romantic behavior with potential disciplinary actions for violators. The recent rally is a display of the complex journey towards inclusivity at BYU, with students advocating for acceptance and recognition while confronting institutional barriers. Well, I want to say kudos to the students. I mean, that's very brave of them. But I also want to remind you that BYU exists in a very weird position. They are technically a religious private college, but because the Latter-day Saints, the religion, is so ingrained in the state of Utah, it's essentially an unofficial quasi-state school. Mm-hmm. And for them, and it's also notoriously responsible for electrocuting LGBTQ plus students in the 70s to cure it as a part of a conversion therapy. So it's good for them to at least pay attention to some queer students, but I would say that the road to recovery is very, very far away.
Oh yeah, I mean, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing is a statement that we could use every day of our lives, even in this day and age, regardless of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important that the students don't get discouraged and start getting aggressive. I mean, the only way you're going to work, I mean, we can debate,
I'm just going to have to swallow myself here because I am an ex-Mormon and I grew up in all of this, and this just absolutely enrages me. It sets me at such a point because I went through so much religious abuse from that organization, and they're claiming that, you know, they're doing the best for whatever, whoever, garbage, burying stuff in their religion. They're, you know, forcing people. They want people's money, but they're going to force them to live their way. And that is that's, you know, we criticize all of these other countries for forcing people to live based on religious viewpoints. And yet we allow this in our higher education systems. And we allow it because we have freedom of religion, but we're allowing freedom of religion to run over people's personal freedoms. We are giving religions more freedom than actual people.
And I mean, just to kind of counter that, is that, you know, it is a religious institution, and just like a Catholic school, Catholic college or university would be protecting the Catholic view of these things, so too would.
I'm not just saying it's strictly Mormon. I'm saying all religious educational systems need to be completely
right. But in this situation, and this might be, I mean, this is definitely my take on this. You signed up to go to that school. Now, you can, I mean, as a gay person, you can sit there and be proud of who you are and however you can and and make your position known. But what I was trying to say earlier is the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's going to be constant because you're going up against an institution that's centuries old.
Well,
yeah,
but on the other hand,
a simplified view of it. Yeah.
Well, it might be simplified, but we have 60 seconds to talk about it here on TV. I debated for days and weeks.
I just want to close out saying that, buddy, I understand what you're trying to say, but a lot of students do not have the agency to choose a different school just because they're LGBTQ+, especially if they're Mormon and they're stuck in an environment where they are forced to conform to the Mormon ideals. A lot of these students are in the closet. They're unwilling to come out for fear of essentially their parents disowning them, and they go to BYU because they have no other choice because the parents might not want to pay for any other way for these kids to go to school.
Okay, well, and those are all variables that you go in depth for.
I think what Buddy's also saying is I like the 2 steps forward or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, because we do frequently see BYU in the news with kind of, okay, so they're doing this one thing that seems a bit progressive,
right?
But then they go backwards a couple ways,
right.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe you're not interested in answering this, Sam, but is that part of your experience within the church, is being maybe, okay, so I see some promises somewhere, but it doesn't really.
It's PR stunts.
Is that what it is?
To me, because nothing ever actually changes.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
They want money. They want their power. Like, I mean, going back to Proposition 8 in California, they were a huge proponent of that, and they really wanted that to pass, but yet they want separation of church and state, and they don't want to have to pay taxes. It's just this duality of what they want and what they don't want to give, and it's just so messy. And I think religion needs to stay where it was according to the Bible in people's hearts and in people's private lives. It doesn't need to run other people's lives.
So education began with monks, with the Jesuits, right? And so it's always kind of been a religious institution. As we moved through the Enlightenment and as we came into kind of the modern, or not even the modern, the Enlightenment, we began to have more secular institutions. And those institutions have always been at the forefront of social change and of the growth that we have as Americans, as citizens of the world. One of the things that is involved in the speech that everyone has to read is he's talking about scholars working with trowels and muskets to defend the kingdom. So he talks about educators as like the builders and defenders. And if everyone is being forced to read this, and this is where I have faith in education, if everyone is being forced to read this, the educated people at BYU will recognize that their trowel and their musket doesn't have to support what he's saying.
Right.
It has to support. They will, I have faith, and that's all it is blind faith in educated people. But I have faith that the faculty at BYU will come around to saying, this is ridiculous, and we're going to use our muskets to defend the opposite of what you're saying, because now that we have the opportunity to read and discuss this
and read through it
and consider it, we can make educated, informed opinions about it.
Well, I mean, I could go on about this
and it might not happen. It might not happen. But what I'm saying is that's just blind faith on my part.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the positive outlook.
Well, and that's what I was hoping to encourage. Is like, you've got an uphill battle. You've got a pebble that you've got to put up Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
So just realize that it's an everyday battle, and you've got to just keep trudging through. I mean, it is what it is.
I'm at the point in my battle where I'm throwing the pebble instead of just carrying it.
Whatever,
because
however you want to tackle that pebble, that's fine. But I'm just trying to encourage the students to go 150 individuals versus an entire campus of tens of thousands of students and people and multiple centuries.
That's it. And use your intellect to use his words on him.
Yeah.
And more people will see that 150 people and get
and be inspired. But I'm just saying, don't lose faith because in yourselves.
Yes, 100%.
So